All right, you guys, hey, welcome. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for hanging out. We had an awesome and exciting announcement today, and that is the spring 2024 Toyota Land Cruiser coming back to the United States. This is brand new. This is a brand new Land Cruiser. It's a departure. It's very different than the 200 series, which is the last Land Cruiser we've had here. And watching their announcement video earlier, they did not go into the stats that I'm going to break down in this video. They talked about the philosophy, and really it was all the right words: reliability and really delivering on the Toyota promise, stripping down, going back to basics, basing this off the 70 series. And one of the main philosophies was function is beauty. So everything you see on this Land Cruiser is supposed to be purely functional for reliability and safety. You guys can watch that video and it'll give you the philosophy behind this Toyota Land Cruiser. Now, base price, mid $55,000. Now that's before any of the add-ons, tax, license, stock, whatever fees there might be these days. So you're probably looking mid 60s or in the 60K range before you have one in the driveway. Now there are three models. You have the base model, and that's what we're going to talk about today. That's called the Land Cruiser 1958. The mid-range is called the Land Cruiser, and then there's the top tier Edition 1 Land Cruiser. Now, those are low production numbers. There are going to be about 5,000 of the Edition 1 Land Cruisers produced, and those go, we've seen this before, those go to friends and family. The likelihood of the layperson getting their hands on one is probably pretty low. But base stats, pretty good. Let's talk about some good news for off-roaders. This Land Cruiser is a smaller Land Cruiser. It is 1.2 inches shorter than the 200 series, but it is 4 inches more narrow. It is still larger than the 4Runner, but it's a smaller footprint. It is also ladder frame construction. That is awesome. It is body on frame. This is all good news. It also has a solid rear axle, and you know, I drive an 80 series Land Cruiser when the apocalypse happens. That's the truck I'm gonna get into. I like my solid front axle. This has independent front suspension. Probably really, really durable and well thought out. I prefer a solid axle, but independent front suspension is fine. It's more comfortable. Let's talk about the powertrain. The powertrain is actually really interesting. It is not brand new for Toyota. Some Tacomas have this powertrain, but it's unique. It is a 2.4 liter 4-cylinder engine. It is turbocharged. It also has, coupled to it, a 48 horsepower electric motor. There is only one engine option available for any of the trim packages, but check this out. Good news. Horsepower, 326 horsepower. It gets better. Torque, 460 foot-pounds of torque. Now that is power where you need it. Now, one thing for an adventure traveler or an overlander to consider, anybody who's rock crawling, they're gonna put this thing to the use, is how the combination of features feels when you put the pedal down and you're really finessing the power. So it's a combination of that turbo, that electric motor, and relatively low displacement. As it all comes together, what's it gonna feel like on the trail? You guys are gonna tell me. What do you guys think it's gonna feel like on the trail? Tell me in the comments. I want to know. Have you guys used any hybrids before on the trail? All right, let's move on and talk about some of the additional stats. The electric battery, interesting choice. It is nickel hydride. Lithium is all the rage. Lithium is relatively lightweight. The nickel hydride battery is heavier, so why, Toyota? And it's because it's a technology that they are familiar with, and they say it is tried and true, and it's all about reliability. There are probably some availability, sourcing, and production considerations as well. 2-range transfer case, of course, 4 high, 4 low. Interesting to me, it is not all-wheel drive, full-time all-wheel drive. It is full-time 4-wheel drive. That's what's in the literature, and checked it against the press releases, and that is in fact what they say. It is full-time 4-wheel drive, and it has, drum roll please, a standard rear locking differential. That is awesome. You guys, when you're off-road, many of you know this, 80% of your stuck situations can be solved with a rear locker versus having both a front and rear locker. I have a front and rear locker. I rarely use the front locker. It is all about that rear locker. This comes standard. That's very good news. Now the tire size on the base model, 31.5 inches, but you guys, there's lots of room in that wheel well. I would love to have one in my driveway right now and try and throw a 33 on it, try and throw a 35 on it. Stock my vehicle with the 2.5 inch lift, the 80 Series Land Cruiser, you can put a 35 on there. I wonder what you can do with this new Land Cruiser. It'll be great to find out. But if you just look at it, looks pretty promising. Lots of space in the wheel wells. The higher models come with a 32.6 inch tire. So we know we can get upwards in that range, stock from the factory, and there's gonna be plenty of aftermarket available as soon as the thing hits the street. Coil front suspension, a front sway bar that you can disconnect on the upper end models, so that's good news there. Now, this is a surprise, and the surprise is standard tow hitch on all Land Cruiser models, the 3 Land Cruiser models, and a trailer brake controller on all Land Cruiser. That is awesome. Also, it can tow 6,000 pounds, which is more than the Toyota front 4Runner, less than some of its bigger brothers. Underbody protection is pretty standard, more on the front. The tank for sure and the transfer case all have some level of underbody protection. That's good because some of the clearances are in the meh category. They're okay. If you look at the stance, you're looking at the pictures of this thing, it looks plenty capable. You can go plenty of areas, but if we talk about approach angle, departure angle, and breakover angle, it is on the approach side 31 degrees, breakover angle is 25 degrees, and departure angle is 22 degrees. I won't go into what those things are in this video. I have other videos about that, so check it out. But those are some pretty meh stats. They're fine. They're gonna do the job. It's not super concerning. It's just not an overachiever stat. Ground clearance stock, another meh. 8.7 inch ground clearance standard. If you compare that to a 4Runner standard ground clearance is 9.6 inches. So a little bit less in that department. All right, let me talk about the hatch. That's very important for adventure travelers because flat space when you're out off the trail is at a premium. You want as much flat space as possible. An interesting thing, you can open up the glass to get in the rear and you can then open up the full gate, but it goes up and there's no tailgate. I really like having the split hatch. Half goes up and the other goes down. So I actually have a tailgate and that is a flat space table for doing anything you want. Baiting a hook, fixing things, cooking your meals. And unfortunately, this Land Cruiser does not have this, but the rear storage is pretty darn good. No third row seat. It's just not available. It's interesting. Most adventure travelers and overlanders, I have a set of 80 series third row seats in my rig and I can, or in my garage, and I cannot give them away because most people pull those out anyway. Probably has something to do with the choice. You got a large family, you need that third row. That's a disadvantage, but you have more storage for your trips. And one thing I noticed that I didn't read in the literature, but that I noticed in some of the photos and the videos is it looks like 120 volt outlet in the rear cargo area. So you guys, that's it for this 2024 spring Toyota Land Cruiser. I actually think it is a good entry into the market. We can be realistic about that price. We know it's going to start bumping up, especially with accessories. But in terms of capability, it sounds like it's a very good contender. You guys know the aftermarket is going to be out there, and going with that, the front bumper and the rear bumper is very modular. So you guys with those 4Runners that have had to deal with cutting body panels to put on your aftermarket bumpers, it looks like this Toyota Land Cruiser will be more modular and be more friendly for aftermarket. And I look forward to seeing the Land Cruiser Overland adventure builds shortly after these things come to the market. You guys know there's going to be aftermarket support for your bumpers, your winches, your lift, your racks, all the things you need. I'm very excited to see those builds. You guys, if you have questions, please put them in the comments, and I really appreciate you hanging out with me. You guys, we do this. Overland Bound is here to inspire you to get out there into nature, to outfit and explore. Until next time, we'll see you on the trail.